What is up, you guys? Today, I just got the chance to see Thunderbolts last night. We just gotta jump right into it. Without further ado, we are the Thunderbolts! Before we get into the video, I of course gotta do the haul of the stuff I collected for this movie. I got this bucket here. This rests on top of it. Now, I did make some differences for this one. It would normally rest on it like here. To make it fit my enormously large and big head, I had to take out, there's these 4 prongs here. There was 2 here. I took those out so that way I can just fit my head. Now, I will admit, when I look to the side, it does look very weird. But I would say it's fairly comfortable. I mean, now it's a little bit too big and I do look a little weird. I would say this is a very fun bucket. Of course, as you guys know, I don't do tins. I don't really like tins that much. They just kind of collect space. But I feel like this is a pretty cool tin, as it doesn't really say Thunderbolts on it. It says it right there, but it more says Red Guardian, which I kind of like. And I like the fact that it's his helmet. I thought that was fairly cool. And like always, we can't exclude the cups. So I did get this kind of cool tumbler looking one. Has all of the characters on here. Of course, the main important character, Taskmaster. We got Red Guardian, Ghost, Bucky, John Walker, and Yelena. This Thunderbolts on here with the asterisk. All right, there we go. Just an okay cup. Could have probably got this at Five Below in 5 months, but I wanted to get it now. Okay, so let's get into the review. I'm going to keep it spoiler free for now. I'll put spoiler thoughts in the video in timestamps. If you want to skip past the spoiler thoughts, you can go to the outro or my overall thoughts. That way you can see my overall scoring on it. Okay, so going into this movie, I feel like we've been talking about Thunderbolts since I was a sophomore in high school back in my olden days. So they wouldn't give us that, but they did give us the lineup for the Thunderbolts, which honestly, a lot of people are complaining about this lineup, and I think it's really good. Yikes, that was a very rough time for me, but going into this, I wasn't really too excited for it. I mean, it was a Marvel movie. I was like, okay, it's just a group of characters that, I really couldn't care for, except, Red Guardian and Yelena a little bit. The rest of them, I just didn't really care. They're all super soldiers, mainly. They just really fight with guns and stuff. Nothing really doing anything. But then the trailers came out, and I was like, wow, this is very intriguing. This is very interesting. And I'm like, this looks actually really good. And then we, of course, saw Bob, which, if you don't know who Bob is, I mean, you're living under a rock because the trailers pretty much give it away. But this was very entertaining, and the trailers made me very excited, and to the point that I was very excited to see this movie, and I was like, wow, this might actually be very good. Going to see this movie, sitting down in that theater, I will admit, I will say, MCU's back. This is possibly top 10 Marvel material. I think this is one of the best Marvel movies we've got post-Endgame. And there's only a few that achieved such a high score for me. This movie's being talked about everywhere. On Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's the second highest Rotten Tomatoes score for an MCU movie. It has a 90 right now. But man, this movie's it's very good. It's very funny. It's very heartwarming. It's very dark and sad at moments and funny. The character dynamic, I think that's what really does it. The MCU does their characters so well, and seeing Red Guardian interacts with Yelena, interacts with even Ghost, John Walker, even Taskmaster. Peak performance, man. Taskmaster was great. But yeah, and then of course we got Bob in there, who is this mystery character. No one really knows who. Again, the character dynamic of all these characters, very great. Very well done. Oh, and Bucky Barnes is in there, of course, too. Another cool thing I really like about this movie is you don't need to see any, old MCU movies or TV shows like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Black Widow, to see this movie. They kind of explain everything, but, very shortly and sweetly. They, say things that connect to those movies, but it's all, one story that's connected, that leads into the future of the MCU. But you don't need to watch any, do any homework. It doesn't pick up from anything. It kind of just is its own story, which I really like. And this movie is coming around 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I will say, I felt like that 2 hours and 20 minutes flew by watching this movie. Watching this whole thing, once it ended, I was like, that's it. That's all I'm getting. Like, I needed more. I wanted more. And this movie left me such a positive note for the future and so excited for what's to come, because there are 2 post-credit scenes, and I will say the last post-credit scene, if you haven't been spoiled for it already, which luckily I wasn't spoiled for it, was incredible, leaves the future very exciting. When it comes to the visual effects, and that this movie had one of the best visual effects styles within the MCU, especially focused around the villain of the movie, who is Sentry, as we know, and just great visuals. The story is so dark when it comes to like the trauma of all these characters, because all these characters, of course, did bad things in the past that they're trying to run away from, but like Bucky's the only one who like kind of came to terms with it. And this movie focuses a lot on like therapy and dealing with trauma in a very good way. I definitely thought Thunderbolts wasn't going to be good in any way, but I think you guys should all give it a shot. Like, it was very well done, very good. And I'm very excited to see the future of the MCU. My theater was packed, and I think that's one of the best, this is one of the best theater experiences for an MCU movie I've ever had, because there are some moments where people just gasped audibly, or they laughed. Like, a lot of the jokes in here, this movie's very funny, and it doesn't have that oversaturated MCU humor that we see in like Thor: Love and Thunder, but it has like the perfect amount of comedy that we saw in like Phase 2, Phase 3, where Red Guardian makes a lot of jokes that are just hilarious, and Red Guardian as a character, I think, is the best on the team. I'm a very pro Red Guardian person. So that's where I'm going to leave it off for my spoiler-free thoughts. I'm going to get into my spoiler review. If you don't want to see that, again, you can skip forward to my overall thoughts and see my overall scoring of the movie. But without further ado, let's get into spoilers. So this movie, of course, opens up where all the characters are fighting into that one big room. I mean, there's a few things that happen before that, where we see like Yelena doing missions and stuff for Valentina. They all worked for Valentina at one point. They're all realizing, okay, we're here to hunt each other down and basically destroy the evidence, because Valentina is, of course, getting like impeached from her position in office. So now they're all like going after each other. And then they work together to get out of there. And then all of a sudden this character, Bob, comes out of nowhere. And they say Bob like so many times. Bobby, Bob, Robert. Of course, everyone should know this. Bob is Sentry. I mean, it's clearly that Bob is Sentry. And what's really cool is Steven Yeun was supposed to play Sentry. And they do make a few jokes in there, which I think would have been really funny, because they say, like, he's invincible. That would have been really funny. But I honestly think Lewis Pullman did this role fantastically. Like, he was incredible. So then they get out. They, of course, all are driving away, trying to escape from Valentina. And then Bob all of a sudden flies out of nowhere, realizes he has superpowers, and then they realize that he's the Sentry project that they've been working on to create this superhuman. So then he like basically crashes. That's when Yelena, Ghost, and John Walker are all escaping. Mind you, Taskmaster comes in here. I thought this was one of the funniest things, because of course everyone was talking about Taskmaster's going to die in this movie. I thought, personally, I was like, okay, Taskmaster's going to die to Sentry. Sentry's going to kill Taskmaster. It's going to be like this whole big thing that they're going to try to make us care about. No one's going to care. I think this is when I realized this is going to be a great Marvel movie, is when they're all fighting, Ghost, Yelena, Taskmaster, and John Walker in the arena thing, in like this little like cabinet of all the evidence. And Ghost just comes up there and goes down, and she goes like, I did my job, I'm out of here. Funniest thing I think I've seen. This movie also takes the edge of like rated R very closely. Like, they say a lot of things in here that I'm like, wow, for a PG-13 movie, this is pretty on edge. So I really appreciated that too. So then all of a sudden we see Red Guardian has like this limo service driving Valentina. That's when he overhears the plans. And then he comes to the rescue. This is where it's the funniest thing. He's talking about it. Elena's embarrassed because that's obviously her adopted father, which she keeps saying that's her father, which, of course, if you saw Black Widow, that's the case. That's when Red Guardian teams up with them and stuff like that. And then Bucky comes out of nowhere to like kind of stop them, because Bucky is, of course, in council trying to go against Valentina. And Bucky's like, you guys are a part of her like gang or whatever, goons. And so he goes after them, takes over them, and then they're talking about Bob, saying that he's like this superhuman now. We didn't know that, but Bob's like in trouble and danger with Valentina. That's when Bucky realizes that. So they go after Valentina. Valentina then, of course, has Bob talking to him. And Bob's kind of doing all these weird things with Valentina. We see Valentina's past with her father. So then they basically meet Valentina. Valentina goes like, you guys can come in. And that's when we see Sentry. Sentry looks beautiful, looks comic accurate, everything. He's like, basically, they say take him down. That fight scene where it's the Thunderbolts versus Sentry, I thought was amazing. Like, Sentry's just flying everywhere. Basically, OP Superman with the ability of doing dream powers. Insane. Like, I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. He's fighting everyone, and then they're going away, right? And then she goes, you have to go after them. Valentina's like, you have to go after them. And that's when he's like, they're not a threat to me, but you are, because you're controlling me. You're telling me what to do. Why does a god have to do that? That's when I was like, dude, Sentry's gonna be the most, like, insane powered character that I've ever seen in a movie. Sentry's going up to her, he's flying outside, and that's when Valentina's assistant, like, does, like, the death machine or whatever, like, to, like, basically fry his brain or whatever, like, to kill switch, pretty much, right? So then he's, we presume, dead. She goes down in the elevator, and I'm like, he's not dead yet. Where's the Void? Like, I was like, because I thought he was dead, honestly. But then he turns black. And, like, I'm talking, like, his full, like, color just goes away into darkness. And I was like, oh, that made me go put my hands on my head and just, like, I was looking at my friend Joseph, and we were just like, there's no way this is about to happen. Like, there's no shot. All the Thunderbolts are out there. They're all scattering, going away. And then that's when we see Yelena's talking to her dad. And the person next to me was sobbing. Because, like, they're, like, Yelena and her father are talking about how Black Widow's dead and grieving with that. And, like, how Red Guardian wasn't there. And, like, it's very sad and traumatic. But, like, then they forgive each other. They're hugging. Then that's when we see just Sentry, or Void, I guess, just standing up there like this with darkness and saying, you think you can outrun the darkness. He takes, like, a helicopter. He's, like, fighting helicopters. The helicopter's going everywhere. Then, like, buildings are collapsing. That's when the Thunderbolts regroup, and they're, like, basically saving the civilians. And that's when I was like, dude, this is, like, I thought everyone was comparing this to, like, Guardians, or not Guardians, everyone was comparing this to Suicide Squad. I was like, this is like the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, they're, like, doing, like, street level stuff, like, trying to save the community, and they're just, like, a rally of criminals, which is what the Guardians was, and they're just, like, grouping together, and I'm just like, dude, this is great. And, like, they were, like, all there, and then all of a sudden, there's, like, a concrete slab, and this little girl, right? Red Guardian runs up to the little girl, grabs her, and, like, has the concrete, and he's, like, looking at her. At this point, completely forget Sentry's there. I'm focusing on, like, the Thunderbolts right now, and I'm like, this is great. They're amazing. And so is everyone. Then all of a sudden, the little girl's smiling. Poof. I'm telling you, I got out of my seat and went, that was the craziest thing, because, like, I thought they were all dead. I was like, there's no shot I just saw that. The Void's just going after them, and then, of course, Yelena steps into it, breaks Red Guardian's heart, and that's when we get some, like, trippy multiverse of madness, WandaVision type of stuff, where she's going through everything, going through her traumatic scenery, and meets up with Bob. Now, at this point, Bob's fine, he's regular, and he's like, this is the safest room I found, because we see Bob's past, where he was with an abusive father and stuff like that, and he went down a very, very dark past with substance abuse and stuff like that. Crazy. And the fact that they say that, too, in this movie, again, this movie is just great when it goes towards, like, that, going across the line of PG-13 and rated R, but right below the R rating. All the Thunderbolts are in the room with him, and they're all going through the different rooms, and then that's when they find the Void, and that's when, like, Bob's, like, fighting the Void, and then Yelena breaks free, all of them break free, to kind of give him, like, a group hug, but also restrain him, and that was the most emotional scene I think I've seen, like, giving him restraining hug because of, number one, what he's dealt with, number two, him fighting his demons. It's a very great ending. And at this point, I feel like I'm only an hour into it, but I realize we're like 2 hours and 15 minutes. This movie's about to end. They break free, they go into the real world, then the void shrinks back to normal, everyone's there. Like Valentina's like on the phone and they run up to her and then they go into this curtain and I'm like, okay, so she like pretty much catfished them into going through this, like, or tricked them to go through this wall. And she goes like, welcome to your new Avengers. Now, I really thought they were going to say Dark Avengers, but this pretty much is the Dark Avengers. Because then I was thinking about it, I'm like, if you're named the Dark Avengers, you can't be, like, that's going to sound evil. So, like, they said, your new Avengers. I was like, okay, everyone kind of knew that, but I was like, new Avengers. Very interesting. And then that was the end. I was like, there's no shot. There's no shot. So then there's two post-credit scenes. Obviously, we're going to get into that main post-credit scene. Obviously, it's 14 months later, so I guess that's next July, I want to say, that this is taking place, or something like that. I don't know if Thunderbolts takes place now or in 2027. Who knows? They're all talking, and they are now the new Avengers, and then Sam Wilson's angry with them. We see Bob can't be Sentry, because if he is Sentry, the Void's going to take over him, and so that's interesting. It's just the Thunderbolts and Bob now. We also get to see that there's like a spaceship coming down, and at this point, I thought it was going to be Doctor Doom, something, and then all of a sudden, the spaceship reveals a 4, and you just see Yelena's face questioning it, and you hear that theme of the Fantastic Four. It goes like, ba, 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 ba. That was peak. And then it ended saying, the Thunderbolts and Bob will return. Dude, Doomsday is gonna go so hard. This movie was great. Future Max here. I had to pause from editing, so it is nighttime by the time this is releasing. I just came back from seeing Thunderbolts again with my Thunderbolts cup. How to say it, I think this is even more peak. My score even raised more. I'm just gonna tell you right now, my score is now an 89 out of 100. But yeah. We are the Thunderbolts! Back to past Max. Here are my overall thoughts on the movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was very enjoyable. One of the most enjoyable movies that I've seen for 2025 so far, and in general, the MCU. I think on my top 10 MCU list, it is number 11, which is still very high out of like the 40 MCU movies that we've had now. I'm giving this movie an 87 out of 100. I think this is my second of the year right now underneath Sinners. This was great, and I'm so excited to see Fantastic Four this summer. So yeah, that was peak. Marvel is back, baby, and always remember, we are the Thunderbolts! Without further ado, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you like it. If you really like it, make sure you subscribe. And if you want to see future videos like this, make sure you ring that bell in the description down below. With all that being said, this is out. Peace.